Hello, St. Thomas Academy, and welcome to the Cadet Football Show. I'm your host, Mike Maxwell, and to my left is our head football coach, Travis Walch. Welcome back to the show, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. We're in episode number 8. Hard to believe it's been that long. We're just past the midpoint of the season, and looking forward to a good finish off of the regular season and hopefully a long run in the playoffs.
Yep.
So, congrats on another good win on Friday night. 44-13 victory over Armstrong, a team that was, at least at the time, ranked 5th in the state in 5A, and on paper looked like a pretty even matchup. I mean, yards on the ground, yards passing, kind of a big team. It looked like it might be a closer game than it actually was. Give us your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, I would say not only on paper, when we watched them on film, there was a lot that concerned about, a lot of things we knew we had to prepare for. Yeah. And when they walked in the field, you always got to kind of look at them right away. It's like, are they as big, and do they look the part like they look on film? And they did. So it's another week where you just go, okay, it's probably going to be a pretty emotional game. It's homecoming. We just came off Cretan and Maddaus, which are big rivals. Yep. So more than anything, you just say, okay, with everything that goes on in homecoming week, how do our kids respond? And how do we start a game in a big game? And that's what I was impressed with. We started really well. Offense, if there's one thing that I can say has been pretty consistent, we've been pretty explosive over the last couple games. Sure. And as I think about our defense, very timely in the way that they get their stops. You can almost use opportunistic in a way, is where I'm starting to feel our identity is on defense. And that's kind of, to me, how the game played out. As soon as it felt like it was going to get a little bit threatening or tighter in the game, our defense made a play to take it back the other way.
Yes, they did. So, of course, the story of the night was the weather delay, a little more than 2 hours, pushing the second half kickoff to about 11:20, which for guys like us, that was you're like, oh, I'd rather be in bed at that time. Yeah. But hey, we do what we got to do. What was the mood of the team during that delay?
There was no doubt that our team and their team both wanted to come back out. I mean, that was never in question. The only thing is we actually spent a lot of time in this room with the officials and the two head coaches and Mr. Horning, our athletic director, saying, and athletic trainers, right? Because ultimately they have to make the decision on when are the lightning strikes happening and what does that mean over the next 30 minutes. So spent a lot of time in here. I went down 2 or 3 times. Coach Nagin went down to his team 2 or 3 times. And the response consistently was, we want to play tonight. We don't want to push it back to tomorrow. And we all had a lot of concerns with how much sleep are our kids going to get if we send them home now. Dehydration levels and injuries the next day were a huge concern. And I know a lot of other teams around the cities just went, let's scrap it. Let's come back the next day. Right. I can't speak for them, but we just knew that everyone in this building wanted to finish it, including Coach Nagin and his team. And I'm just really thankful that we had, Mr. Horning here giving us some really good perspective, athletic trainers. He was very sound in his belief on wanting to come back out. And as I told you a little bit earlier, really it was the officials. Everyone wanted to be back, and we get to make that decision. I was just so thankful for an official group. A lot of those guys are officiating Division II games all over the Midwest. We had a group going to Sioux Falls. I think another group was going to Aberdeen. So they were getting up the next morning at 6 no matter what, and they had to be gone. So just appreciative of the perspective and everything that went on in this room that allowed us to finish that night.
So let's just back up just a bit. What goes into that decision, or what what's the criteria to start with, and then what goes into the decision to either delay or postpone?
We heard when we were coming in, hey, we thought lightning was somewhere about 22 miles out. So in a quick version of this, if there's any type of lightning strike within 10-mile radius of this point, you have to wait then another 30 minutes. Okay. So we knew there was probably going to be a delay. We didn't realize how long the delay was going to be. Right. So we had kind of at one point we said at 10 o'clock, if we aren't playing at this point, or if we aren't heading out to the field, we'll call it. Well, then we got to 10 o'clock, and the information we were getting from other schools, you're calling other schools at this point saying, what are you going to do? And our athletic trainer sitting here, we thought there was a window that at about 10:30 we would be clear and free of lightning, and that's really what happened at that point. And the other side of this is, how do you prepare your kids for a 2-hour break? Well, thankfully, we had some heat issues earlier this year. And I say thankfully because we used that time to talk to our kids. We said at some point we could get a weather delay in game. And you were going to be inside. So what are we going to do at that time? So we had already kind of walked through and talked through what that night was going to be like. And usually we're going to give you reminders. Let's get the shoulder pads off. Probably not going to take the lowers off. Let's make sure we're hydrating. Let's watch the film that we already have. Which we did.
Interesting.
And then at some point, you just got to let them relax, and kind of it turns into pregame again. Yep. So an hour before pregame, we always tell our guys, you can go out in the field, walk the field, maybe you have a routine, or maybe you're a guy that just likes to be by yourself, put in your little earbuds and chill. So at some point, we just had to go, guys, we're not manufacturing anything, it becomes pregame mode. Right. And we had walked through and talked through that. So thankful that I have good assistants on staff, and I remember doing that at the University of St. Thomas, even for such things as you're on TV for the first time and you got a 3-minute break. Right. What are you going to do on the field with your guys? We had a joke guy. We had a guy that had to tell a joke. So it just helps lessen anxiety when you have plans for this stuff. Yeah. And I thought we handled it pretty well. And I thought they handled it pretty well because I thought both teams came out ready to go after a 2.5-hour break and really played well.
Agreed. Yeah, you could definitely hear some music playing down there. You had a few guys in the weight room on the bikes, just kind of doing their thing, and a few of them kind of wandering around. And they were pretty loose as a whole, which is again, I think, a testament to the coaching staff as well. So let's talk a little bit about the game specifically. The defense, I thought, did a great job of keeping their top running back in check. He had been well over 100 yards every game. We kept him to about 75 yards. But there were some times that the Falcons were able to move the ball. In particular, there were 2 long drives in the second half where they got into the red zone and then they kind of melted down. But do you feel like this is maybe a little bit better team than they showed Friday night?
I thought it was pretty close to what we thought. We knew they had good scheme. We knew they had good players. They actually lost their best lineman the night before the game, actually. Oh, really? Okay. And just an accident at school where he slipped and fell. So it's every team is going to run into these things along the line, and then you got to say, well, how adaptable can you be, and who are you going to plug in? And that's why right now we're doing a ton of crossover stuff, saying we're healthy for the most part. But what if so-and-so went down? We talked about this a little bit, like contingency plans. You got to have them, right? And I thought they did a really good job of having a contingency plan. But they have proven over the course of many games that they can move the ball against some really good defenses. Yep. So, it felt playoff game-like that game could have been really close. Yeah. As I said, our defense made some really big stops, some really big moments. Some of them, I guess you could say, inflicted a little bit on their part. Yeah, a snap on the ground, ball slips out of his hand. Yeah. But there was one of the most common sense plays I've seen in a long time was their quarterback's running after the ball. Charlie Probst pushes him to get the ball. It's just that's backyard. I've played football before type stuff. You can't coach that stuff. Yeah, it just happens. Yeah, but I tell you what we will do. We will coach it from now on because now we have a clip that says if you're ever in this situation, don't dive on the ball, push him out of the way and dive on the ball. So
that was a terrific play by Charlie, and of course on the other long drive, Avery had a nice interception just in the right place at the right time. So. As you mentioned before, your offense continues to click along pretty well, now averaging about 35 points a game. Just a few stats. Savion continues to dominate, really. 20 carries, 270 yards, 3 TDs. He's right at about 1,000 yards for the season and 17 total TDs. And the guy that I was really impressed with was Ari Tobias. 8 carries, 83 yards, 2 TDs, and that 33-yard TD on the reverse was incredible. I mean, just very well done. First of all, I love to see that. They had everybody fooled. Everybody was going to their right. Ari was coming the other direction, and they didn't have a clue. So that was fun to watch. And then, of course, the special teams. But Declan Wilson with a 36-yard field goal, which is fun to see as well. Let's talk a little bit about the MVPs of the game. Let's start with the Scout of the Week.
Yeah, Scout of the Week was Jack Collins, and it's the second week in a row that it's come from our D-line group. And I always say, it's kind of a testament to our coach, Coach Leach and Coach Corbin do a really good job with our D linemen. You have contact every play as a D lineman, right? I mean, you gotta have, and you don't know where that contact's coming from. Sometimes you're getting trapped, you're getting kicked out, you're getting blocked, and for those guys to be the guys that are most resilient, I think it says a lot about the two guys coaching them. And I'm just really been impressed with our D front as a whole and the way that we run to the ball. That's one thing, but to be able to come back in every play knowing the objective here is to move and block you in all different directions, I'm just really impressed. And Jack is a guy that will start to get more reps because it usually starts with, can you show us in a scout manner that you're deserving and you've got a motor and you're willing to do it? And it's usually those guys then they take that next step and go, we got to start seeing if now they can do it in the games. And I believe Jack can, and we're hoping to move in that direction with him.
Oh, that's awesome. How about the Cadet Award?
So Cadet, again, it's scout, or it's kind of a hustle and kind of an all-around. And you brought him up earlier, Ari Tobias. We asked him to do a lot. So at one point I said, hey, can you be a punt returner? And it didn't go the way we wanted to, but he just bounced back. And we've got him now playing 3 different special teams. We're asking him to do a little bit more in the offensive side of it. But he does a lot of scout team stuff for us as well. So do we always use Savion in scout team football? No. And that means now Nico and Ari have to pick up and do things that, one, aren't usually what they do, but 2, it is, in a way, getting them reps as more of the deep back. So it benefits him as well, but he takes it on. He wants challenges. He wants to get as many reps as he can, and it really helped the defense this week. When you say, how nice is it to have guys like Ari and Nico across the ball for our defense to be able to get some scout looks from and see that type of speed and elusiveness and toughness? It's a big reason why he got that award.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, he had a really nice game. How about offense?
Savion. There's just not much to talk on. If you go to the games and you watch him, it's just he runs with a ferocity. He runs with a manner in which he wants to finish every play. And I challenged a lot of our whole group on offense to say, I like where Say is at right now in the way he's trying to attack and live every play, and I challenge the rest of our group is, can we block with that type of finish mentality? Can we catch with that type of finish mentality? And can we just be thoughtful with that type of finish mentality?
That's good stuff right there. How about defense?
Finn Benz. And I told the group, I'm starting to, you're getting this identity this time of year and go, where do you feel comfortable with certain people? And I know this, when Finn is over the top of our defense in the deep, what we would call the puck spot, we call our deep middle center fielder the puck player because of Kirby Puckett. He was my favorite athlete growing up. But when Finn is there, I just feel comfortable. I feel like, you know what, even if things don't go right in front, he's either going to come up and make the tackle or he's going to be able to manage the middle of the field. Yeah. And he is kind of our guy that he's our communicator in the back end. So our safeties are tasked with making sure our corners know the coverage. The corners just need to kind of confirm that they understand what's being called. But there's just a real comfort with him. And it's not just that he's there, it's that he makes plays on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about special teams?
Special teams, Thomas Holmquist, he had 2 tackles on kickoff. And, I've said this to our team, and I don't know if I've said it on the broadcast here, but Declan's a real weapon. I have said that. At some point, as we get deeper into the season, wind becomes a major factor in Minnesota. And there's going to be quarters in which Declan's going to have to kick into a 25-mile-an-hour wind, and we're not going to get the benefit of him kicking it through the end zone. Right. We're going to have to rely on our coverage here at some point. So we've gained a lot of belief and trust in who our coverage can be, and Tommy's a big part of that. And he had 2 tackles and 3 opportunities the other night.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, pound for pound, probably the toughest guy on the team for sure. So. All right, so let's talk a little bit about lower grade levels.
Yeah, lower grade levels. So our middle school, just really happy. We kind of we took a chance this offseason and said, what is it going to be? And there were a lot of moving parts during the season, and we made this commitment to take 60 kids and split them, grades 6 through 8. And we had another really nice win against the 7th and 8th grade team out of South St. Paul last night. So we won 20-8, and we had another 55-7 score. So those guys up until this point, we're still undefeated with both of those teams on each side of the conference, I guess. And we're going to finish our regular season, I think, this week. And then you go into a seeded tournament. And we may have the number 1 seeds on both sides, but we can't play against each other. We're not going to. So we'll have a 1-seeded team, hopefully, if we can finish, that will play for a championship in league. And then we have to have one of our 2 teams play the, I guess what you would call it, the third place, 4th place game. And then we're going to try, I think we're working on booking out 2 more games for them, 1 for each team against another, an Egan team or another school, I guess, from a bigger class, 6A. So. 9th grade lost last week, but we did come back and win our 9B game last night against Maddaus, which is excited about. And we had some cancellations last week with JV. So part of the after effect of us playing late into the night, and part of the after effect of other teams canceling or rescheduling on Friday night, was all of the officials that are usually JV officials got called up to work those rescheduled games. Because a lot of the officials that we have, as I said earlier, are working college football games. So we ended up finding out early Saturday morning, even though both schools wanted to do it, that we didn't have officiating crews. So we lost that opportunity. But I'm happy for the most part at all of our lower levels, not just on wins and losses. It's not the most important. Are the kids getting good experience? Are they getting good coaching? Are they having fun? And I don't want to wait until the end of the year to evaluate all that. That's part of why. And I have one more group to work with now and talk to about just a couple adjustments we want to make moving forward.
Got it. Okay, that sounds good. I think the future of STA football still continues to look promising.
It does, and there's what we're doing in season, but what's already starting to tick on my radar right now is what do we want to do in the off season with our grade levels that are like, I can't work with our varsity guys in the off season unless it's a summer waiver. But what is some of the programming that we want to start thinking about? Yes, throughout a winter 1 night a week, throughout the spring 1 night a week, and not to interfere with anything that's going on in those seasons, but can we just play some 3-on-3 football and get kids together and throw the ball around in the spring? Those are the things I'm starting to think about right now, and how are we going to do the best job making sure that everyone we have in 8th grade football right now is going to be playing 9th grade football next year.
100%. That's awesome. So let's take a look at this week's game. We go on the road to face the Apple Valley Eagles. They are 3-2 on the season, and coming off of a 13-0 loss to a pretty good Cooper team from all everything I've seen. What can we expect from the Eagles?
Well, put it into perspective. Cooper and Armstrong played an overtime game. So Cooper is pretty close to what you're getting out of an Armstrong team. So you're saying, okay, Apple Valley played them in a really good game, and Cooper is rated in the state as well. So Apple Valley, like you said, they're 3-2. They're going to be a good opponent. And the other thing that we have to think about is not only this a team that we're going to have to play this week, we could potentially have to play this team again in the section. So I think the challenge, I never want to make it too much about the other team. They've got some good players, a couple of guys in defense. One's going to North Dakota as a defensive guy. We're going to see some talent there. It's going to present a little bit more spread. Their offense is going to be a little bit more spread based. Their defense, talked about this the last couple of weeks. Okay, who are they as a front? Well, I said, hey, we kind of faced these fronts for 4 weeks in a row. And then we got to another team, and it was completely different. They actually throw. It's a good combination of Maddaus in terms of what they do, a little of Cretan playing all man. We're trying to figure out who they want to be against us. I think they've done a nice job defensively of saying, this is who we're going to be against this team. They're a little bit more multiple on defense. So it's going to be one of those weeks in which I'm happy to say we've seen a 3-4 front, we've seen a 4-3 front, we've seen a 3-3 stack. So it might be one of those games where we get in and have to say, who do they want to be against us? Take that film on the sideline. Thankfully, we've seen a lot of different things, and we might have to go, okay, guys, we got to pivot here a little bit because we don't know exactly what they're going to do. But they will present a talented team, a team that has played us in the past, good, bad, or different. I don't know what our scores have been throughout the years with this level and what it was like in 9th and 10th, but they're a winning football team right now, and we got to treat them as such, and we will. And the theme this week also has got to be, now, what are the patterns that we've seen, even in wins over week 2, 3, 4, 5, in which we still aren't improving at the rate that we want to. So a big part of yesterday was we watched 10 clips of things that happened in week 2 through 5. They're consistent themes, but on the wrong end of things. We still have not made that adjustment. So it comes now in one of two manners. Is it a personnel move in which we have to take someone else up and down? I think we do a pretty good job now of understanding who our best players are by position. But now we have a lot more flexibility in saying, okay, do we need to add another tight end to the field? Do we need to add another receiver to the field? Are there certain personnel groups that are our most dynamic and are proving to be our best across the board? And we might not shift with, we have a tackle bumping above a tackle or a tight end, but it might be, we're just going to play with more of these position groups on the field because we're not getting what we want out of another position group.
Right. Yep.
So
Yep.
those are decisions we have to make.
Got it. Speaking of position groups, I love the jumbo package when you had Avon go in at I think at guard, and then
Emilio went to the backfield.
Right. Yeah. That was seemed to be pretty effective, and love seeing the big guys get a little love in there.
So part of that is you also got to say is you can't just move a bunch of guys around and do stuff. We're still running our base. We're still running what we do from a schematic standpoint.
Right.
And you're saying, okay, it's the same thing for 9 guys. We're just inserting 2 different guys in.
Right.
And that's, you have to be really creative with that as we make the stretch run here and saying some different formations, some different looks, but for most of our guys, it's the same thing we do.
Got it. Yeah, that's good. So let's just talk a little bit about the offensively for Apple Valley. Their quarterback, number 13, leading the has 1,000 yards in passing,
Yep.
and is also the leading rusher. Does his dual threat ability concern you a little bit?
Yes. I mean, anytime you say, really what you're saying is when you run with your quarterback, we call +1 football. It means you're available to block with 10 guys.
Yeah.
Okay? So think about it, just across the board, you're always going to have another hat blocking. You're going to be able to create another gap. So yeah, it poses some big time problems. Not only that, is they do it with counter type stuff. So they're going to fake it and run it with the tailback one way and let him run the other way. It's really tough. They are using every resource where you would say with us, how do we try to do it? We use Max on bootlegs. Just try to say, well, he's still a threat to throw and run, and you can certainly see how good our play action has been. But we don't always pick up another gap or another helmet to block. That's the difference with +1 football a lot of time is they're using every possible resource to block our defense, and they have a good runner and a quarterback.
All right, we'll see what the boys bring on Friday night. So three games left in the regular season. What are the 1 or 2 things that you guys need to focus on this week to continue to get better?
Across the board, it's the way that we finish. So we have seen a lot of plays throughout the season in which, we scored a touchdown or we got a first down, but we're probably 6 out of 11 if we're looking at across the board. How many of the battles did we actually win? I showed the kids a clip the other day where I went, we were 2 for 11 on a kick return. We ended up on the 45-yard line. A lot of that had to do with the fact that Buck just made a really good run, right? But we can't be 2 and 11.
Right.
The deeper you get into the season, Apple Valley does not matter. Hastings does. You can't be 2 and 11 on a play against really good teams. In fact, there's going to be teams, this might be one of them, where we could be 10 of 11 on a play. But if that one is in a spot that it can't be, that's the end of a play. That's a 4-yard loss. That's a penalty, whatever it is. And so what we did, I think, we took, again, 10 plays and said, deeper into the season, no matter how this turned out right now, if we don't finish in 3 or 4 different spots in this play better, it's going to be a different outcome. And we're trying to get that on our guys' radars right now. The other thing we did is our guys, we did team goals to start the season. I don't remind them of our team goals weekly, but this is a good point right now, the midway point of the season, to say, this isn't Coach Walch and this isn't our staff's goals.
Right.
This is what you guys sat down as a team and said, this is what's important to us from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, and from a performance standpoint. So we're going to repost those goals now around our locker room and around our team to say, with every decision that you're making, the way you hydrate, the way you write notes, what you do on Saturday, what you do on Sunday, are you living up to the goals that you guys set as a team? And that's what's important to me now, is at some point, I've said this before, our kids have got to be the leaders. We've got to look at each other and we got to hold each other accountable, because you know what? Sometimes the message from coach, the parents know it that are listening. Sometimes it has to come from someone else, and there's nothing more powerful in my belief system than a best friend saying, "Hey, we need more out of you," or "Hey, I was wrong and I apologize."
Yeah.
That's the next step here. We've got to get leadership and followership from different areas.
Got it. That's good stuff. All right, Coach. Well, thanks for taking a little time to talk Cadet football with me today. Good luck on Friday.
Thank you.
So our cadets will play the Apple Valley Eagles on Friday evening at Apple Valley High School. Kickoff is scheduled for 7 p.m. It is recommended, as always, to purchase your tickets online in advance. We will have the link below for you. And if you're unable to attend, we will be broadcasting the game live at cadetbroadcast.com, and you will find that link below as well. And we'll be back next week to break down the Apple Valley game and look ahead to our next opponent, Hastings. Thanks for watching, and go Cadets.